Sorry. Hello. One second. I'm just no sound. Yes. I fixed it. I fixed it, chat. I fixed it. No, I just sorry. I'll tell you what has happened. All right, everyone is here.
Uh, yeah. Tanmay, you got
Welcome.
to.
Sorry, you are on screen now. I know I was supposed to fix my mic. No, I fixed it. Sorry, guys. I'm very slow today. I don't know what happened. I think I shot, by the way, I shot a new vlog today for which I had to stand in the kitchen for 2.5 hours. So me and Naveed both were like very tired at nap. And because I took a nap, I'm not in the right senses. What's happening in my brain, Sid? After a nap, I'm disoriented.
You want to know? It's about norepinephrine.
Yes, please tell me.
I'll draw it and tell you. Oh, there, the
Okay.
pen comes out.
Okay, why don't you tell everybody what's going on in my head right now? Hang on, I'm going to give you shares.
Draw the amen. Draw the.
Why don't you tell everyone why is Tanmay being so slow today?
What? Seriously?
Yeah.
You want me to do that?
Yeah. I'm very scared. You can see my puffy face and my like lackadaisical.
Yes, I can. Now this is Tanmay's brain. It's and here is a place called locus ceruleus that releases a hormone called norepinephrine. And this is what goes all over the brain, waking Tanmay up.
Oh.
So right now, like imagine it's like a dial, like a speed dial. So this is fully awake and this is coma. So norepinephrine can turn the knob up or down.
I am very coma right now.
Yeah.
So is coma the same as sleeping?
No, coma is completely gone. Like you can't wake up.
Okay.
Coma is close to dead.
So where is sleep?
Here.
Okay. Oh, in the middle. Okay, got it.
And
What
this
is
awake.
lower than sleep is like unconscious.
Unconscious, drowsy, stuporous, coma. And here it's like attentive, alert, awake, like so on.
High.
And
where is high? What happens on marijuana?
Yeah,
We did a full session on ganja separately.
Here.
Oh,
What if you're on sativa? That's an indica strain.
So marijuana has a really weird benefit, like an effect, because marijuana can go from here to here.
Correct. Depend on from where and
correct.
Like whether it's come from auntie's blouse or the hills. It really depends on where. All right. Thank you very much, Sid. I am feeling awake now. Your explanation was neuropinephrine.
Yeah. Turn up the locus ceruleus and you'll be fine.
What is it? Turn up the?
It's called locus ceruleus.
Locus ceruleus
is the brother of Marcus Aurelius III,
yeah,
commander of the Roman army. I am gladiator. You took my wife.
Fantastic. Yeah. As usual, friends, we have with us Abish Matthew, Kanish Surka, and Dr. Sidharth Warrior. We are going to learn about a brain again today. And since a lot of us have been speaking about depression, mental health, we thought we preponed our session this week. So thank you, Sid, for making time for us. We thought we should come and have this session now, since we all are talking about it and so many of you are curious. Today, at the beginning of the session, Sid, we already have twice the number of people who have tuned in.
Wow.
Clearly, a lot of you are interested in this. So let's just begin. Everybody who's sending super chats, we will address these questions at towards the end of the session. If that's okay with you guys, we just want to be completely zoned in. Let's begin. Sid, all yours.
All right. Thanks, Tanmay. Right at the onset, I wanted to tell you that this is going to be a different discussion from last time. We discussed humor, and depression inherently is a more difficult topic to talk about. It's got a lot of connotations. When we hear the word depression, we think of a lot of things. A lot of us have gone through depression, or somebody in our family has gone through it. We've all been affected by it in some way. So I thought that I'll just state that out at the start, that everybody's experience is different, and what we will try and do is to just focus on the neuroscience of it, like the reasons why some things happen, what we know so far, and try to make sense of that.
Got it.
Right? Because
Got
there is
it.
a lot of things we still don't know and we are still learning. So I just wanted to clarify that. Uh, a good starting point for this discussion is talking about what is depression, because we can say the word that, oh, we are depressed, but depression by itself is a medical problem, and
Clinical depression.
clinical depression, and that has a certain like a diagnosis, right? So there is something called as a criteria for diagnosing depression. So that is something I wanted to start off with, because that is how we know whether somebody is depressed or not, and it helps us identify these people, it helps us treat these people. So there is a global consensus as to what is clinical depression. So there are 9 things to look for, and clinical depression is diagnosed when you have at least 5 of these for more than 2 weeks.
Okay.
And those 9 things are things that we are familiar with. We may have seen it in some people, but this is how you diagnose depression. So the 9 things are: the first is a depressed feeling. So you say that you feel sad, you feel empty, you feel helpless. So that is called as a depressed mood. So that is the first thing. Second thing is inability to feel pleasure or inability to feel excitement. So things that previously gave you pleasure now don't. So that is a sign of depression. If you are losing weight or if you're gaining weight without trying to, so you're not dieting, you're not eating more, but you're gaining weight or losing weight, that could be a sign of depression. If your sleep is altered, so you're sleeping excessively, you're not able to wake up, or you have no sleep, that is a sign of depression. If there is slowing down, so you don't feel like you could walk fast, you don't feel like you could run, you don't feel that same level of speed in which you used to do things, that is a sign of depression. There is fatigue, so loss of energy, so you're no longer active. All these things put together can give you a sense of guilt. Now here it gets even more complicated to understand, but there is a sense of worthlessness that comes in depression, because these people have insight. They know that I'm supposed to do things. They know that I can do so much more.
Correct.
But I can't.
Correct.
I don't know why I can't, but I can't. And that sort of takes you down a really bad spiral. And you start feeling like maybe I'm not worth all this. I'm not living up to what I can do. And that sort of puts them down. Because of that, they're unable to concentrate. So now they can't focus. They can't focus on anything. Their attention just skips from one thing to another. And earlier they used to. They would identify themselves as somebody who was good at focusing, but suddenly it's all gone. It's like their brain wiring is all, something is wrong and they can't explain it.
Yeah. Sorry, Chad, I have a smile on my face because this is relatable content with me. Like I went through a phase which was like this for 6-8 months, and it's a weird loop, right? Said when you said there's a sense of worthlessness, because you would, like, I would cry because just feeling some shit. Then I would cry because I couldn't do the shit that I was supposed to do because I spent that time crying. So now you would feel terrible about not doing that thing. And the lack of focus is a very that's actually very true. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm so sorry you went through that. But yeah, this is.
But I'm feeling great now. Cheers.
Cheers, man. And the last one, the 9th one, is the most unfortunate part of depression, in that they have suicidal thoughts and suicidal ideation, and they may even attempt it.
Suicide fantasy.
Fantasy, yeah.
I was reading about this. Like some thoughts about Like if there's a defined cause for your depression, you want to kill yourself to punish the world.
Yeah,
Like those thoughts exist, but not everybody acts on it. But
yeah,
those thoughts
true,
exist.
true.
All right.
It's like a dark spiral, and there are a lot of symptoms that I just mentioned, and there is nothing like a hierarchy. It's not like you have to start from the first one and go till the ninth. You can start off from anywhere, and each one will progressively lead to another one.
Hmm.
So lack of energy will lead to lack of focus, lack of concentration. That will make you feeling worthless. So it's like a spiral, and you can enter into that spiral at any point. It's it's uh, it's difficult to come out of it once you are deep without help. And this is something that I think we need to know, we need to understand, because only the people who have gone through it know it, but they are unable to talk about it. So it's literally like nobody really understands, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
There are a couple of other things I wanted to mention is that in mental health disorder spectrum, depression is one, but you can also have things like anxiety
Hmm.
and panic.
Hmm.
Now, these are different disorders. These are different problems, but they can often overlap.
Yes.
So you can have depression with anxiety, depression with panic,
Yeah.
and
I was
that,
showing I was showing symptoms of panic disorder. For
yeah,
me, it was 6 hours of increased heart rate,
yeah,
where there's always some or the other trigger. Like
yeah,
always saw anxiety as like very momentary. Anxiety phases were still like a few minutes or so, but panic disorder was just continuous for hours and hours. The panic
yeah,
disorder was the one that made my therapist be like, maybe you should go to a psych to see if you have clinical depression,
yeah,
because I would describe to her saying, for 6 hours I felt intensely panicky, and she was
yeah,
like, it seems like a long time. This is no longer just you were feeling anxious. This is a
correct.
symptom of something more, so you should go. That's why I went to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist was like, yeah, there's a lot more here. And put me.
Yeah,
Go on,
good,
continue.
good. It is, because it's important to understand and work through this with professional help, because these are not thoughts that we are used to.
Hmm.
And when you find yourself in that whole loop, it's extremely difficult to make sense of it.
Hmm.
So it'll be close to impossible to figure all of this out on your own. Maybe you could have done it if you were feeling normal, but because you are inherently, your thoughts are slow, you are not able to focus. So the whole thing leads down a very dark spiral. So it's important that you do take help. And that brings me to the next part, that why are we talking about this? Why is it important that we talk about this? Uh, for one, it's common. So depression is almost 1 in 10 people will have it in their lifetime, and uh, that is a scary thought, and it's also an important thought for people to realize that it is not something that happens to somebody else in the movies. It's not something that you just read about. It happens. It happens in our families. It happens in our households. So that is something we should know. There are things that can increase your risk of depression. So, say genetics, for example. We are still discovering a lot of certain genes leading to depression. We still don't know exactly, but we know that there is a strong family history. So, if there are people in your family with depression, that will increase your chance of depression. And
Yeah.
it's not your fault, or it's not like you are not trying. It's there are things that you can control, and there are things that you can't. And it's sort of important to know that. Just knowing that you can't control this itself is half the problem solved.
Yeah.
And finally, Tanmay, I saw this video that you had put up yesterday about what if people had treated depression like other diseases, and
Hmm.
that is so true, because I was thinking about heart attacks.
Hmm.
And so, like in a heart attack, a patient comes with chest pain, and we believe the patient when he says, "I have chest pain."
Like,
Right? We never say, "No, you probably don't. Are
why
you
don't you go for
sure?
a jog, buddy?
Why don't you go for a jog? Why don't you take a rest? Why don't you just relax or distract yourself, see a movie?" It's not like that. And we also know that there are triggers. So we know that a high blood pressure or high sugar level can lead to a heart attack.
Right.
And we know that we can do an ECG, and we know we can do some blood tests to prove that there is a heart attack. Now, this is where the problem comes in depression, because there are symptoms, just like chest pain, there are symptoms in depression. There are triggers, just like blood pressure and diabetes, there are triggers here. So childhood history of trauma, if there is excess stress in your family, work, finance, there are triggers. But there is no test. Sorry, Kaneez, what?
There's also measurable trigger.
Exactly.
Trigger, like
Exactly.
or you can like measure
Hormones.
that.
Yes, absolutely. So hormonal imbalances can be a trigger, but there is no test. So there is no test like ECG or, like an enzyme. And that has been the problem with all mental health disorders, because till now it's like, show me the proof, which is sort of, it's an unfortunate way of looking at it, because now we know a lot more. We don't know everything, but we know a lot more about depression. So we know that there are problems in the neural networks. So it's unfortunate, but from here on out, we should try to think of depression and mental health disorders like we would think of heart attack, because there is actually very little difference, and both of them can kill you. That's the saddest part. So it's important that we sort of hold that parallel in our heads, right? Now, yeah.
Some of you are sending in questions, guys. I will raise the appropriate question as and when the time is right. Right? Not to worry. Continue, Sid.
Cool. So that was sort of the context. Like, I wanted to give you an idea of what we are dealing with here. And now we can start tiptoeing into the brain, and we can start looking at how does all this come about. So what is happening inside the brain when all of this is happening? Cool. So shall we go in? All right. Cool. So
Kaneez, you feeling okay? A lot of people in chat are asking.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm fine. Sorry.
No, that's just she looks like a sad old woman. That's all. It's got nothing to do with anything. Continue. Please continue, Sid.
All right. So I wanted to start off with a very basic premise of pleasure and pain. So when we talk about depression, we are actually talking about a very complex issue. But if we break it down all the way to the bottom, we are actually talking about a very primitive circuit in the brain of pleasure and pain. And the best way to understand it is to sort of go back in evolution and see where it came from. So that's where I would like to start with, because that will give you a better idea. So let's talk of pleasure and pain. Now, let's take an animal. Let's take a rat. Okay. Now, a rat has the choice of either looking for food, or it can throw itself into a river. Now, it is very important for genetics. It is very important for the survival of the species that it doesn't throw itself into the river.
Right.
Correct? So that will be a bad idea. If all the rats throw themselves into the river, that species would end. So how do the genes make sure that the rat does not throw itself into the river?
How do the genes make sure?
Yes. So it's all about the genes. The genes are the important ones. We are just carriers for the genes. The genes decide, because the genes have done all the evolutionary hard work, evolving till here.
I did.
So, yeah, so the genes do not want a species to die, because that species is the result of millions of years of hard work.
Correct. So the genes are predisposed to survival.
Absolutely. Who wouldn't be?
Correct.
Are genes the same as?
Sorry.
Are genes the same as your instincts?
Instinct is like very very like a baad mein aata hai. Like genes is DNA. Basic DNA, like amino acids DNA. So right, so the species wants to survive, basically. So how does it ensure survival? Now, every animal with a brain will have one area that will reward and one area which will punish.
Sorry. Every what will have one area?
Every animal's brain. So this is a
Got
brain.
it. Got it.
Sorry, did that look like a rat? I'm sorry.
No,
That's
it
a
just
brain.
looks like a really sad man.
Okay,
now,
every
with
so
ears
every
coming.
part of every brain
Yeah,
has one area
that looks like
rewards and one
That looks
area
like Supandi, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Sorry. Yes.
Hmm.
So there is a reward and a punishment.
Hmm.
And that reward is basically felt as pleasure.
Sid,
And the punishment is
if you
pain.
don't mind, could you do
Yeah.
some of the like if you're explaining a concept when a new concept
Yeah.
arrives, do one in English. Could you also just repeat it in Hindi as in when?
Sure.
Chat is requesting. I don't want anyone to miss out on something like.
Sure. So shall I just repeat this again?
The rat, food, and river, and the brain part.
Cool. So okay, so if there is a rat, so like कोई भी animal हो, उनको दो choice होता है. तो वो खाना ढूंढ सकते हैं या वो खुद को मार सकते हैं. लेकिन वो स्पीशीज को, मतलब वो पूरे एनिमल का जो ग्रुप है, उनको वो चाहते हैं कि वो एनिमल जिए.
करेक्ट.
क्योंकि वैसे ही वो एनिमल का स्पीशीज बढ़ सकता है, वो आगे बढ़ सकता है. तो वो कैसे, वो एंश्योर कैसे करेगा, मतलब हाउ वो कैसे कंफर्म करेगा कि वो एनिमल
और उनकी पीढ़ी आगे कैसे बढ़े. करेक्ट.
हाँ.
और तो इसलिए उनके अंदर जीन्स होता है. तो जीन्स उनको कहती है कि प्लीज खुद को मारो मत, प्लीज आगे बढ़ो, पीढ़ी आगे बढ़ाओ, आपकी विरासत एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ आगे बढ़ते रहे. और ये हमने एक्सप्लेन किया. फिर हमारे एनिमल रैट के ब्रेन की तरफ, जहां पे ब्रेन में दो हिस्से होते हैं, एक जो आपको रिवॉर्ड देता है, एक जो आपको पनिश करता है. दिस इज इतना ही सीखा. ठीक है. दैट ऑल गुड टू गो. लेट्स मूव ऑन फर्दर.
So abhi now every brain will do this. So every brain will either punish or will either give pleasure, or it will give pain as a punishment. And gradually the animal will learn to only go for the reward. So this is called as reward seeking behavior. So now the animal is trained. हर एनिमल को पता है कि मुझे खाना ढूंढना है और मुझे फैमिली को बढ़ाना है.
हाँ, इसलिए खाना खाने से प्लेजर मिलता है.
Absolutely.
और
So
मरने से दर्द होता है. इसीलिए ब्रेन में दो हिस्से होते हैं गाइस. एक रिवॉर्ड मिलता है और एक रिवॉर्ड देता है और एक पनिश करता है. रिवॉर्ड मिलने का जो फीलिंग है उसे प्लेजर बोलते, और जो पनिश होने का फीलिंग है उसे पेन बोलते. क्योंकि हम सब प्लेजर चाहते हैं, हम रिवॉर्ड की तरफ बढ़ते हैं, विच मीन्स नरिशमेंट, खाना खाना, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा, एक्सरसाइज करना, हेल्दी रहना, उस सबसे प्लेजर मिलता है. समझ गए? ओके.
जो भी ऐसा है जो खुद के लाइफ को बढ़ा सकता है और हमारे स्पीशीज के लाइफ को बढ़ा सकता है, वो सब कुछ प्लेजर सेंटर की तरफ जाता है. और कोई भी चीज है जो हमारे लाइफ को एंड कर सकता है या हमारी स्पीशीज के लाइफ को एंड कर सकता है, वो पनिशमेंट की तरफ जाता है. क्योंकि हमारा जीन्स नहीं चाहता है कि हम वो करें.
इसीलिए थप्पड़ लगता है तो दर्द होता है, क्योंकि देयर इज फिजिकल, क्योंकि थ्रेट है वो. इससे लाइफ एंड हो सकता है. इसीलिए कुछ चीजों से कुछ चीजें ऐसी है जो करने से अच्छा महसूस होता है, कुछ चीजें करने से दर्द होता है. वाह, आई नेवर न्यू दिस. आई डिडंट नो दैट दर्द और खुशी, ये जो दो फीलिंग्स है, प्लेजर एंड पेन, दीज आर सर्वाइवल रिलेटेड. ये हमारे जीन्स का प्रोग्रामिंग है कि उनकी वजह से हमें प्लेजर और पेन मिलता है. इंटरेस्टिंग.
ये बहुत बेसिक है. एंड जो सबसे कोर जो प्लेजर सीकिंग बिहेवियर है, दैट इज फूड एंड सेक्स. Because for the species to survive, these are the two things you need.
Yes.
Correct. And you need to know to avoid any threat. So any danger, any death, you have to avoid. तो वो avoid करना है. तो यहाँ पे आता है fear. तो fear is the guide to tell you कि ये सबसे दूर हटो. And pleasure is the guide that will say इसके पास जाओ.
Correct.
Cool. Now this is the basic. Like every animal, lower animals, all of them have it. And if you remember, last time we talked about how the brain had evolved upwards, right? I told you that the brain has evolved like this.
Yeah.
So you have the spinal cord, you have the brain stem, and your brain evolves like this. So this is the most recent part.
Frontal lobe.
Now, Correct. Brilliant. So the frontal lobe, the parietal, the occipital, and temporal. These are the four lobes. Now the pleasure center, the pain center, all of these are in this area.
This occipital.
No. So this is in the center. The four lobes I told you were all on the outside. But this is all in the center. So this is even before the lobes.
Got it. Okay.
Because this is so primitive that you don't even need a thinking brain. You don't even need somebody who is going to logically figure out, I want this, I don't want, none of that. It's not important.
तो सपोज ये ब्रेन है, तो ब्रेन का जो ऊपर वाला हिस्सा होता है वो सारे लोब्स है, उसके नीचे यहाँ कोर सेंटर में वहां ये क्या बोलते हैं इसको? सिट
So this is like the primitive brain. So this has the limbic system, the emotions.
तो सबसे पहले जो फॉर्म हुआ, एवोल्यूशन जब हो रहा था, तो जो ऊपर वाले सारे लोब्स है वो बाद में आए. तो जो सारे कॉम्प्लेक्स चीजें हमारे ब्रेन कर सकती है वो बाद में आया. उसके पहले ये कोर, सर्वाइवल इंस्टिंक्ट, बेसिक इमोशंस, वो सब पहले आया. ब्रेन स्टेम. अच्छा,
ठीक है. So this is the limbic system which controls emotions. And the brainstem controls basic life things. So your heart rate, your blood pressure, your temperature, all of that, the brainstem will control.
चैट मुझे गलत बोल रही है. चैट सॉरी, मैं स्टूडेंट हूँ, गलती हो सकती है स्टूडेंट से. हाँ, okay.
So this is the crux of it. Okay. Now, where does happiness come in? Now, the interesting thing about evolution is that अगर कोई चीज इवॉल्व हो गई, तो अभी समझो प्लेजर एंड पेन इवॉल्व हो गई, तो उसको कोई हटाएगा नहीं, क्योंकि वो बहुत हार्ड वर्क के बाद इवॉल्व हुई है. तो वो उसको हटाना नहीं चाहता कोई, उसको सिर्फ अपग्रेड करना चाहता है. राइट? So nobody is going to go back and change the wiring that has already evolved. So evolution will now say that I will add more layers on top and change the way that the earlier emotions were felt or the earlier things were done, but the base will remain the same. So you can think of it like pizza, right? So there is a base, that base will remain the same, and you can just keep adding more and more toppings, and with every layer of topping the flavor will change, but the base remains the same. Okay. This is what brings me to happiness. So what happens is, in evolution, as your brain evolves, now we are able to think more. So we are now able to give importance to certain things, less importance to other things. And I told you that in the frontal lobe, there is an area called as prefrontal cortex.
Yeah.
And the prefrontal cortex is the part that deals with your personality, your planning, and these are the areas that give you context.
Correct.
So
holding a plate.
Yes, so working memory, all of that. Now, this is what lets you like one kind of pizza over another, because they're both food. Your pleasure centers don't really care which one you're eating, but you have developed a personality saying that I like plain cheese pizza. And best example, pineapple lovers versus pineapple haters on pizza. Yeah, so what decides that? I've never seen anything divide a room so much. So what decides that? What decided that you are the pineapple lover on pizza and you are a pineapple hater? So that is your prefrontal cortex. That is your personality speaking. So now that will override your pleasure center, rather modulate your pleasure center, and say that even if something may give me pleasure, so pleasure you will now think as wanting. So even if your body will want it, I may or may not like it. And that liking is happiness.
Oh, like Karela.
Sure, like Karela. There are people who like Karela, there are people who hate Karela. But both of them are signs of evolution.
I'm saying like Karela is very healthy for you. So like you should eat it because it's really healthy. But
yeah,
like,
but all that is, it won't make right.
Okay.
So the difference is,
Interesting. No, sorry. I just wanted to make a joke about Karela.
Go ahead.
Because who are these people who like it? And if they are, then we need to cleanse their gene pool.
Yeah, totally hate Karela. Gee, yuck. Yeah.
Continue,
Right.
Sid. Continue. This is all. I'm super into it. I'm just listening.
Okay.
Hmm.
So to put it in a very simple way, happiness is conditional,
Hmm.
right? So happiness is when your brain applies conditions to the pleasure centers. Like that's the
Interesting.
basic way to put it. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Now, we're cool with this. So now we're going to go a level deeper into the brain. So this was like a
Okay.
context.
Got it.
All right.
Oh, shits. Okay, let's go deep. Okay.
So the
Yeah.
prefrontal cortex is done.
Yes. So now we are going into level 2, and there is a level 3 also. But yeah, let's go to level 2. All right. Now, do you remember the lobes? The
Yes.
frontal.
Frontal,
Occipital.
occipital, parietal, temporal.
Excellent.
Oh.
Excellent. Yeah, full marks. All right. So, there are 3 areas I want you to know as far as happiness is concerned, because when we understand the circuits involved in happiness, then we can move to depression because it is the same circuit, but something wrong in it. That's it. So that is what. So understanding depression is understanding happiness, right? So, which are the areas I want you to know? In your frontal lobe, there is an area called as dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. You don't have to remember, just remember D.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So there is a area called D.
Hmm.
And this area is the one that it's called as executive action. So imagine if there is an executive person in an office, what all will that person do? He will plan, he will schedule, he will arrange what comes first, what comes next. He will decide the whole, like the sequence of things. He will he'll be keeping memory of all the things that have to be done. So everything that an executive person will do, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex does.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
Now, there is an area here which is responsible for self-awareness. Now, this is the area that knows who you are, what you want, and why are you doing the things that you are doing. Okay, so let's say that this is self-awareness. This is an area. So there are 2-3 areas inside this. There is one called OFC, orbitofrontal cortex, which I mentioned last time briefly. And there is another area here called as insula. Okay. Fine. And finally, there is the limbic system. And the limbic system has to do with the emotions. So the limbic system controls all your happiness, your sadness, all of that. So pleasure, pain, all of that.
And we're at the stem. We're at the brainstem right now, right?
The brainstem comes here. The brainstem comes just below the limbic system. So it's quite close by. So the limbic system is earlier evolved. So it's not as recent as your prefrontal cortex. It came quite early on. Okay. And very importantly, there is a part of the brain that connects these 2 areas, which is known as cingulate cortex. And this is the last bit of complicated anatomy I'll tell you right now. Okay.
Thank God. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. But it's important for you to know. All right.
Okay, understood.
Now, what do these areas do? The OFC and the self-awareness, the insula will decide who you are. So this will decide your motivation. What do you want to do? What kind of person are you? What is it that you want? This will tell your executive center, listen, I want this to be done. You get it done. So the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex will plan it and it will do shit.
Sorry. Can you repeat the last sentence?
The OFC and the insula will decide who you are as a person. And your dorsolateral prefrontal, the DLPFC, the D area, will plan how to do things and it will get things done.
Okay.
And your limbic system, yeah, tell me, Kanis.
No, I'm saying that when you say it gets things done, does that make as it makes your body move to get things done, like
Yeah.
the motor?
Sid,
Correct.
can you explain with an example? Let's take Kaniz
Yes.
for example. Can you explain with an example?
Yes. So Kaniz is somebody who likes to have black coffee, for example. Okay. Maybe. Now, how does she know that she is somebody who likes black coffee? Because all her past experiences have added up to her being the person who likes black coffee.
Okay.
Now, her orbitofrontal cortex and insula and the part of the cingulate cortex is telling her this information, that you are somebody who likes
Black coffee.
black coffee. Now, this part will tell the DLPFC, listen, I want to have black coffee. Your DLPFC will make the coffee.
Got it.
Your DLPFC knows how to pour the coffee and how to heat it up and all of that. Your limbic system is watching all of this. And your limbic system is in contact with both these areas. And your limbic system is damn happy. You are somebody who likes to have black coffee, and look, you are making black coffee. Well done. You seem to be in sync with yourself.
Got it.
Here is a reward for you.
And the reward is dopamine.
Of course.
Like, what's the black coffee? Is the reward?
Okay.
Got it. Nice.
There is, so the same thing can be looked at in a slightly different way, that you have your action, you have your motivation, and you have your emotion. And if these three
I like
things...
this chart so much more. What a nice chart this is.
Yeah, so this is the same thing, but remove the brain. That's
Got
I was going to say the opposite. I was like, the earlier one had colors in it.
So these three things, if they are in balance, and the thing that keeps them in balance is the cingulate cortex. So the cingulate cortex sort of modulates your who you are, what you are doing, and what you feel about it.
Okay.
So if these three things are sort of in sync with each other,
you get happiness.
Yes. And if they're not,
you get anxiety, sadness, and
everything.
all these negative
Yes.
pain related emotions.
Pain related. That pain spectrum, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, so cingulate cortex does the calculation of whether they are in sync or no.
Sort of, yeah. It modulates this whole thing and keeps everyone talking to each other and saying that, hey, what do you want? What do you want? Are you getting what you want? And it decides that, is this more towards what I want or away from what I want? And accordingly, are you happy or are you sad?
So, okay. So the limbic system is is more primitive, right, than the other parts of the brain.
Yes, it is.
So I'll give a more complicated example, right?
Okay.
Say being at a party, okay?
Yeah.
Being at a party for an introverted person, right? So say Kaniz is going to a party and she's not enjoying the party, right? Now, can we do this calculation? Can we be the cingulate cortex and redo the example and understand कि कनीज को ये पार्टी में मजा क्यों नहीं आ रहा है? Okay.
Correct.
तो लिम्बिक सिस्टम बोलेगा कि बचपन में कनीज के साथ कुछ तो हुआ था, उसको पसंद नहीं आता बहुत लोग के साथ रहना, उसे अकेले रहना पसंद है. तो लिम्बिक सिस्टम knows this information.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
तो लिम्बिक सिस्टम बिकॉज द मोस्ट प्रिमिटिव, वो बहुत पहले से ये इंफॉर्मेशन उसके पास है, तो उसकी वजह से उसका मोटिवेशन है कि वो अकेली रहे, उसे दूसरे लोगों के साथ नहीं रहना है, और उसका एक्शन ये कर दिया उसने कि वो पार्टी में जाना पड़ा उसे, इसलिए उसका इमोशन जो है वो इट माइट नॉट बी हैप्पी. एंड सिंगुलेट कॉर्टेक्स ये सबको LHS RHS करने की कोशिश करता है और फिर बोलता है अच्छा मुझे पसंद नहीं आ रहा है, तो there's this weird uneasy feeling that it puts out.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Perfect.
Understood.
And Tanmay, you said something very intuitively correct. The limbic system, one of the key areas in the limbic system is an area called as hippocampus. And hippocampus is where all your memories are stored. So when you said कि लिम्बिक सिस्टम को याद है बचपन में क्या हुआ था, that was very intuitively correct because you can't have emotion without memory.
Pause.
Right?
Pause.
So that was beautifully put.
Got it. So if I'm doing something where I'm feeling weird, I should first check with my limbic system. अगर आप किसी को नया डेट करने जा रहे हो तो उनके लिम्बिक सिस्टम आपके लिम्बिक सिस्टम से बात होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि आपके लाइक्स डिसलाइक्स एक दूसरे से कम्युनिकेट कर पाएंगे कि मेरा ये है भाई, देख लो.
In 2075, Tinder will have limbic matching.
It makes sense. It makes sense for them to have.
It's like the Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
You play a simulation with your limbic system. Say yes.
See, what is the study of the limbic system called? Like, how can we? Like, is there a way I can understand my own limbic system? मुझे जानना है मेरा limbic system कैसे बना है. Can an ordinary person find out?
I will talk about this when we talk about managing depression.
Fantastic.
Oh.
Is that okay?
Continue.
Perfect. Beautiful. So since you opened up this Pandora's box, hippocampus के बगल में there is a familiar area called as amygdala, which I don't know if you remember.
Yes.
Is involved in fear. And the reward pathway, there is something called as nucleus accumbens, and this is where dopamine comes in. Right? So that's it. This is all you need to know about that. So your memory combined with whatever is happening right now will either make you afraid or it will make you happy. And this is in keeping with who you are as a person and what you are doing about it. And this whole thing has to be kept in balance, right? One interesting corollary of this is that you can now think of happiness and sadness as not two separate things. Instead, you can now start thinking of happiness and sadness as sort of like a wave or a seesaw, because it's literally like if you go a little here, you're happy. If you go a little here, you're sad, and it's one thing will go up and down, and it will keep going up and down. So you are happy for a while, and then you're sad for a while. So it's literally like a wave. Because one important thing about the reward system is that when you're getting a reward, when you stop getting that reward, your brain could even perceive that as a punishment. So if you're enjoying yourself, yeah.
Interesting.
I think you got, my point. Like if you're enjoying yourself and if you suddenly stop enjoying yourself, that could be felt as a punishment, or vice versa. If you're punishing yourself and if you stop punishing yourself, your brain can interpret that as happiness.
Yes.
So your primitive brain is not that smart. So you shouldn't fall for that.
Yes, Tanmay, right? You're just referring to Tanmay, right?
Yeah. I just pointed.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Now we come to depression. Cool. Are we ready to go into depression?
Yes.
Okay. Now what will happen is, for some reason, your brain starts sensing the punishment more. And your brain starts perceiving it as a threat. Okay. And because of this, certain changes start happening in your brain. So the same areas that I told you, the DLPFC, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, what happens to the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex? This one starts to shrink. So the size of the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex starts to decrease.
The cortex that makes you do things.
Yeah, exactly. So your main guy, your secretary, your main person who is actually going about doing things is now decreasing in size.
Is becoming more and more incapable.
Yes.
Of doing things.
Yes.
Okay.
So what will happen then?
DS. What is the full form again?
DLPFC. So PFC is prefrontal cortex.
Got it. Prefrontal cortex. Got it.
right? And DL is dorsolateral. So that is the
Dorsolateral.
anatomical position.
Correct. Okay.
So up and lateral. So up and to the side.
Hmm.
So this shrinks. So now you can imagine what will happen if your main the guy who's getting things done, if he is not working properly. What will happen?
Why does the DLPFC shrink?
So that's like a long story. It's like chronic threat. So when your brain starts perceiving chronic threat, these are the effects.
So brain को बहुत stress, बहुत pressure, बहुत threat वाली feelings आते रहती है. तो आपका जो DLPFC वो एरिया ब्रेन का जो काम करने को हेल्प करता है, तो वो श्रिंक हो जाता है,
जो सब प्लान करती है सब कुछ. So then what happens is you start losing your ability to concentrate. So you can't concentrate anymore. You can't plan anything anymore. And you start developing what is called as apathy. Apathy means I don't want to do it, forget it. अगर हो ही नहीं रहा है तो फिर क्यों ट्राई करो? हाँ, right? Forget it. What else happens in depression? There is an area called hippocampus, which I just told you. The hippocampus also starts to shrink.
Oh no.
What will happen if hippocampus shrinks?
Hippocampus is where the memory is stored, right?
Yeah.
So you stop remembering things. You
Correct.
become like you're just going through the motion. You stop registering things.
Correct.
memory and your long-term memory.
कुछ भी register नहीं होता है. कुछ भी भूलते जाते हो आप.
You start losing your memory. And if depression goes on for a long time, you may actually end up with something called as dementia.
But depression is not the cause of dementia.
It is in this case, if there is chronic depression, so depression for many, many years, it can lead to such severe memory loss that they don't remember things. They don't remember, things that happened a month ago, 2 months ago. They can't remember anymore.
So that means that a lot of our grandparents had dementia. I mean, we've heard of so many uncle aunts and there. So you're saying that they were so chronically depressed for so long?
No, that is most likely Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
That is the commonest cause of dementia.
Not all dementia is depression. Is the cause of depression.
Yeah. In fact, it is not one of the common causes of dementia. Most common is Alzheimer's, but chronic depression should be remembered. If somebody comes with dementia, we always check for depression. Because for one thing, if you identify depression and you treat it, this can reverse. It can improve, which is an incredible thing. So it is always important to catch it and treat it before it gets, it gets too bad. It is important to treat it.
Got it.
Right?
Okay.
And finally, one last interesting thing. What happens in threat? What is the commonest threat that we face in our body? It is usually an infection. So in our body, a threat is usually interpreted as an infection because that is what your body senses inside, not outside, right? Inside. So if there is a chronic threat, your body starts to think that, hey, maybe there is an infection going on, because why else would my brain be sensing a threat for so long? And so it starts to act as if there is an infection.
What a fascinating thing. Okay, interesting.
So now what happens? Tell me, Kanis.
No, I'm asking, like, if it, like, do they release like white blood cells into your system to fight off?
Brilliant. Close. Okay. Yes. So the way you fight infection is there are two ways. So there is hormonal changes, right? And there is immune changes. So immune system is the system that fights your infection. So your white blood cells, your inflammatory cells. So all of that now comes into play. in depression, right? And here what happens is there is a cell called as cytokine. Cytokines are the cells that sort of kill bacteria, kill viruses. Cytokines are released. But there is no bacteria, there is no virus.
Yeah.
It's just roaming around, looking for bacteria, looking for viruses, but there aren't any to kill. Now what happens in your brain, in your insula? Your insula is the part of the brain that is responsible for awareness of your own body. So self-awareness, there is a particular term for it called as introception. So when we say to introspect, so what introception means is awareness of self. And this is at a very core level. So your insula is aware of your heart rate, your blood pressure. It is aware of, is your stomach full or empty? Is your bladder full or empty? It is aware of everything inside your body. Now what happens is these cytokines, all these cells will go to the insula. The insula thinks that, hey, if there are cytokines all around me, that means I must be sick.
Oh no.
And so it starts acting as if I am sick.
Oh, interesting.
Now tell me, what all will you do if you're sick?
You'll not feel like getting out of bed.
True.
You won't feel like doing any activity.
True.
There's a lot of vomiting internally.
There's a
lot of gag reflex, vomiting.
There's sometimes it's loss of hunger also, right? This is
absolutely
sleeping more, fatigue.
Yes. Fatigue, body ache, muscle pains.
Yeah.
Joint
These are all the symptoms.
Yes.
Oh.
So there is nothing wrong with your muscle, but your body is convinced that you must be sick. Why else would there be so many cytokines around me?
Oh man, this is what I felt. You just felt tired, even though you didn't do shit.
And the weird thing is that you don't have an infection.
Yeah.
So all of those symptoms plus infection, and you would be at a hospital admitted, all of those symptoms without any sign of infection, and you would be dismissed. You would be like, kuch nahi hai, aise hi bol raha hai.
But there is something.
There is something. It's happening in your brain. It's not visible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, so interesting. So fucking cytokines, these bastards, they make you feel like this.
No, I mean, they are useful in other places.
Cytokines, not OP, guys. Cytokines.
No, we need them. We need them when we have bacterial and viral. Don't hate them. Don't hate on them.
Yeah. No hate for cytokines, guys. Sorry.
Yeah. It's all modulate your hate. Modulate your hate.
All right, can you just go back for a second and see cytokines?
Yeah.
Cytokines.
There you go, all around.
So because of the chronic threat, the thing that's causing you sadness, वो बार आपको ऐसा लगता है कि this is a threat, this is your threat. जैसे ऐसा बॉडी को ऐसा लगता है जैसे कि इन्फेक्शन हो गया आपको, ये थ्रेट इतना कैसे आ रहा है? तो जब इन्फेक्शन होता है तो आपका बॉडी, जो फिजिकल इन्फेक्शन होता है तभी आपका बॉडी क्या करता है? वही चीज जब एक मेंटल इन्फेक्शन होता है का रिस्पॉन्स होता है कि वो बॉडी से आपका
मेंटल
थ्रेट आपका बॉडी साइटोकाइंस रिलीज करता है. साइटोकाइंस go around what is the part about self awareness? Insula. साइटोकाइंस इंसुला के आजू बाजू आके बोलते हैं, ए क्या चल रहा है, कुछ तो हो रहा है. I'm sorry, I'm really dumbing this down.
No. Like how in your impression of this, suddenly there's a lot of like, hey, wow, it's all that. Yeah. They're all from Mumbai, by the way. Cytokines are all from Bombay.
From Mumbai.
So interesting. Chat में justice for cytokines चल रहा है. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to diss cytokines, guys. Please जाके raid मत मारो cytokines को saying. Okay, amazing. It's super interesting.
Yeah.
So the cytokines make you show all the symptoms of depression. Oh, fascinating.
Sort of, yeah. And the insula is closely connected, as I said, to your motivation centers. So your orbitofrontal cortex and your ACC. So now your motivation is gone, because if I'm sick, what do I want to do? I don't want to do anything.
No.
Then your motivation stops telling your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex to do anything. And DLPFC is anyway shrinking, and now it is not getting any orders from above, so it is not going to do anything.
So that's why it's difficult to get out, because your
Correct.
body is showing symptoms of being sick, and your motivation to do things anyway is shrinking further. So
Yeah,
it's so hard to break through that for this reason.
absolutely.
Feels so paralyzing.
Yeah.
It's a loop. And then if you are not, Kanish, what were you saying?
No, I was just saying it just feels so paralyzing. This whole diagram you're even drawing just feels stuck and paralyzing.
Exactly. And now your limbic system is seeing that your dorsolateral isn't doing anything. So now it is getting even more depressed, and it is sending back punishing signals. It is sending back pain that why aren't you doing anything? So it's like
a loop.
It's like a loop. Exactly.
But now if you know this, Sid, if you're aware of this, if you're aware that मेरा जो fatigue है, ये mental fatigue, it's mental, it's not actual fatigue. It's a feeling जो cytokine से हो रहा है. So why if you're aware of what is happening, is it possible to break the loop? It's more possible to break the loop, right?
It is. And what you are describing is a recognized form of treatment known as cognitive behavioral therapy. So that is CBT.
Correct. So I did CBT. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So that is basically this, that you do certain things with your mind, with your thoughts, that will break this loop. It will close this loop, and it will start the healing process. And the healing will also go in a loop. So if one thing corrects itself, you can correct the next, correct the next, correct the next. But you need somebody to guide, and you need someone to tell you that it is going to be all right. Because at any point, if you stop, you'll reverse back.
Correct.
Right?
So once you pick up, once you feel like you've made some progress, it's important to push through also.
Absolutely. Like finish the job, open the entire loop up.
Wow. I'm not feeling triggered, but I'm feeling immensely proud because it feels I almost see the work that actually went through in tricking your brain into, breaking this loop and forming a dopamine releasing machine. Interesting.
That's what we all are. Yeah, that's what we all are.
So fascinating. Wow, I want to high five myself. Well done.
Bro, well done. Yeah. Well done.
Awesome.
Well done to everybody who did this. Well done to everybody who's going to do this or who's going through it right now. It's
beating
it's
depression.
An incredible
is like
thing.
You're beating your own brain. You're beating the thing that makes you work. You're competing against that. And it can take time, but it's such a difficult thing to beat.
You're healing your brain. Your brain is you. Be kind to it. You're healing.
Correct. Your brain also doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's the worst kind of inside job, right?
Correct.
It's the worst thing. It's like the part where you think from. Like if that is gone, you need to. It's like mental gymnastics to correct it, but it's possible, and so many people have done it, and it's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. That was great. That it feels like there is a science to something that feels like you can't explain what is happening, and now that you put it down scientifically to know this is actually what goes on, I think a deeper understanding of the cause of depression is very useful. Thank you so much, Sid. It was very fascinating.
Thank you, Tanmay. There's just one thing that so lot of things that I've told you, it's we are still learning. And, we are continuously learning more and more things about all these places like Insula and limbic system. And every 6 months, there'll be something new. And it's possible that in a year, we may have a very different idea of what is happening. But that's okay. It's okay to change your knowledge. It's okay to evolve. It's okay to be wrong and then learn again. it's fine. But it's important to know. It's important to have some ledge to stand on, and then you can go ahead.
I think also really be like, it's like, now that we've seen these diagrams, like it is a little bit beyond us, and just to be kind to ourselves and not feel like we're weak and we don't have the willpower.
Absolutely.
And like it's a little bit more than we think it is, and just to give ourselves a little bit of room to figure this out.
Yeah, it's not that simple as get over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you tell yourself, can you just get over it? Come on, what snap out of it. Don't be such a, it's not that easy.
No, but it's so fucking bizarre, Kaniz, that like if you like, I knew that I was clinically depressed, and I was on med, so I knew it, right? This is what I'm going through, and that when you try to get over it, but you have 3 bad days, it's like your brain punishes you for not being able to get over it, and then it gets relapsed. So it's like trying to get up, but every time you try to get up, you fall, and you get angry at your own legs, saying, "How can you fall?" So it becomes even more tougher to get up next time because there's that much more pressure on each attempt.
Yeah, it's like self-harm at on a daily level.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm gonna Sid, if there's before we move further, I would like to quickly address some of the questions that people have sent in.
Sure.
Hang on. Sir, what if we smoked weed during that time? Raman, I forget the context, but I think it was when I woke up. I think we addressed it. Marijuana does it puts you towards the coma. Raman, let's just say it that way.
That's not true. That's not true. Marijuana is a different discussion. If you're interested, we can do that.
We will do a separate discussion on ganja. Chat, let me know if you would like ganja. If not, if you like ganja. If you would like a session on ganja, something slightly more lighthearted, we might do that next time. We should start asking what questions instead of why. What is making you sad instead of why are you sad?
Why are we? That's a good change. Good change of thought. Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting.
More specific.
Yeah, it's what pushne se direct trigger can be identified, right?
Correct.
Why would imply a feeling of describing why
exactly.
you're sad. Yeah.
But what takes more courage also, because you need to be able to face the
cause of what is making you anxious or sad.
Yeah.
Another Tanmay has asked, how do psychiatrists and therapists deal with depression? What an interesting question.
Yeah. So
like their own depression or
their own depression.
Their own depression.
Yeah, I think that's what.
Okay. Okay. So basically, management of depression there are 2 aspects to it. There is therapy, that is pharma therapy, and there is non-pharmacological therapy. And pharmacological therapy mainly has to do with hormones. So they are called monoamines. So there is something called as norepinephrine, there is something called as serotonin, and dopamine. And these are the 3 hormones in your brain that connect all these. So all these circuits that you see going around, all these circuits are connected by these hormones in a way, right? And by sort of tweaking these hormones up and down, usually up, you can change the emotions. You can change the way your brain is working. Correct? So most of the drugs have to do with changing the levels of these hormones in your brain. And they work very well in a lot of patients, and especially in emergencies. They can be life-saving, but always have to be taken under the guidance of a psychiatrist.
Maybe we need to do another session on medication for depression and how to what you need to do in order to make in order to break the loop, right?
Right. So the breaking the loop part comes under the non-pharmacological part.
Correct.
So उसमें तुम्हारा CBT आता है, जो मैंने कहा कि you do certain mental exercises that break those networks and give you control. It's all about control.
Yeah.
So once you feel like you have control over one aspect of your loop, you can use that thread to go down that.
So maybe I can speak to a psychologist and maybe understand CBT and how we can take control of the loop
Absolutely.
Through very basic. Yesterday I spoke about journaling on stream, and there was a psychologist who messaged me saying what you're discussing right now is part of cognitive behavioral therapy. So interesting that you did that. Yeah.
Like you find techniques and exercises that help you kind of control that when it starts spiraling. Like, that you learn that in therapy. Like what can you use to when you start recognizing that you might be.
Khushbu has said, what are alternatives of medication? Khushbu, right here.
These three.
Yeah.
CBT, meditation, yoga. So all these three use different methods to gain control over your own brain.
Gain control over the loop. I'm going to call it the loop. The loop.
It's a very good name.
Yeah, the loop is what makes you really spiral and go down. How do you know if a person is having an anxiety attack, and how do I help that person? Abhishek has asked. If it's not too long an answer, Sid.
Anxiety has to mainly do with the fear pathway. So whenever something triggers your fear pathway, that fear pathway is basically when you want to go away from something. So avoid something, right? So in the fear pathway, in a normal fear loop, you see something that threatens you, you get the fear, and then your fear is resolved. But in a case of anxiety, your fear doesn't come back to normal. It sort of stays here. So there is a low grade sense of threat in your background, in the back of your brain. There is like that continuous sense of something will happen. So that is anxiety. So it basically has to deal with fear. Again, the same kind of treatment. CBT, meditation, yoga, and drugs.
Ashish, thank you, my friend. Ashish has said something nice about me.
Tell us what he said.
Common Boy has said nothing. He said, you helped me when I was depressed. Instagram wisdom and meditation, heartfulness genuinely moved me and helped me a lot. That's what he said. How nice. Thank you, Ashish.
That's awesome.
And good for you, dude. Good for you. Common Boy said, just messed up my chest or knee for the same. I don't know the reason. It's tiring and feels like something is putting pressure in my lungs. What should I do? How to feel better? Want to be productive? Friend, I think today's session will really help you. I think the pressure on your lungs is anxiety, what he's describing, Sid. Does that sound like it? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Unless it's an actual lung issue, which might.
I don't like diagnosing through.
Yeah. That's fair.
It's not the safest thing to do.
It's not the safest thing to do. Yeah. So, guys, if you're throwing a question here, expect there to be errors in judgment.
I'm not diagnosing anyone.
Yeah. I've heard that depression can be caused by a deficiency of vitamin D and hormones like thyroid, estrogen, testosterone, cortisol, serotonin.
I was going to ask about hormones and how they play in mental health.
Right. So hormones play a big role. So basically, you can think about it as a finely tuned system. So if your thyroid level goes down, there are a lot of parts in your brain that need thyroid. So those parts will not work, and that will set off a trigger. And it's not that it has to lead into depression, but it increases the risk of leading into depression. Think of it like diabetes leading to heart attack. It just increases the risk. It's not that it has to be, but it increases the risk.
This is the shorter answer. Maybe some other day in slightly more depth with diagrams and stuff. I just want diagrams. Okina said, listen to music at 432 hertz rather than 440 hertz. Go into nature. What is go into nature like your garden forest. Let your feet feel the soil. Hug a tree and try talking to it. I don't know what the reference to this is, but what is the music at 432 hertz?
There's a big conspiracy theory that the frequency of the universe is not 440, it's 432, and they put up a lot of proof about the sound waves coming from the sun, and there are a lot of stuff. I personally don't have any experience in that. I'm not going to comment on it.
Oh, you just commented, sir.
Thank you for doing this. Anytime. Hang on.
Damn you, Abhish.
Shivank Mathur has asked a question from the last session. Is it the case that the dopamine release after social media interaction, something which is sensed as non-threatening, hence happy, but threat experience is not in our biological system yet?
So that is interesting. So social anxiety disorder is a separate problem. It's an actual disease. So when you perceive society as a threat, or rather social expectations as a threat, and you can't go out, you can't move into crowds, you can't meet people, because you're continuously threatened by the level of expectation that society has. And I don't think social media is any different, to be honest. I think social media is just a microcosm of society.
Correct.
So all the threat that you feel in a room full of people, you will feel on Twitter also.
Yeah.
So
Twitter
social media.
Why is it even there? Except imagine the behavior in real life. If you would not know who the person you're meeting in person, if you didn't know that person, if you had no context to that person, if this person could come say anything about you and you can still not find out who that person is. That's what social media is. It is social. It is a regular social interaction in person, but on fucking steroids and toxicity.
Yeah. What is interesting is that
there's no face-to-face social accountability, right?
So what's interesting is that your brain still gives that anonymous account a personality. It sort of makes it real. Even if it's a bot, you end up talking to a bot for half an hour because your brain can give it a personality.
Wow.
That's why people talk to
chat groups. And
animals or dolls or statues or anyway.
Is there a correlation between creativity and depression? In depressive phases, my writing is so much better. I'm diagnosed with PDD, dysthymia, by the way.
Okay. Okay. So that is a good thing. I mean, not everybody is able to do that, and I'm glad that you are able to, because creativity helps you work it out. It's like a sounding board. So when you're putting things out there, then you can take it in and put it out there again. So it's a CBT actually. Creativity is a CBT. You are working that loop. You are trying to hijack that loop.
Can suicidal thoughts be inherited? Karan has asked.
There is a genetic correlation to suicide. There are certain genetic changes that increases the risk of suicide, but it's not at all like ye hua to hona hi hai. It's just increasing the risk. It's all about that risk.
Reinforcement learning in artificial intelligence is the same as reward-seeking behavior in our brains. That's why they're trying to make a digital brain, and it's really scaring me, to be very honest.
Absolutely. Do you know, Tanmay? I think that most of the neuroscience being read right now is by machine learning code
writers. So scary. There's going to be digital brain, and they're going to take over the world.
Absolutely.
We might imprint ourselves in a digital brain. Have you thought of it that way? Maybe the digital brain is being happening so that we'll be able to find the imprint ourselves and
let's be optimistic.
I think because we're not doing a great job with the world right now.
Do you know about Neuralink?
Yes, I've read about Neuralink and
that shit scares me and excites me at the same time.
Kids are asked to. Karthik has said something interesting. Kids are asked to go into a corner and think about what they've done as punishment. Rumination is typical of depression. How can one avail the benefits of rumination and introspection without the side effects? What an interesting question that you asked, which is solitude in a corner is presented as a punishment when we're a child.
Yeah. That's actually very interesting.
Yeah, it's such an interesting question, Karthik. What a great question. How can one avail the benefits of rumination without the side effects?
Do you want to take this, Tanmay? Do you want to answer it?
Sure. I don't want to answer it. I'm asking you. I don't know. I don't know the answer. If you have something that can be answered briefly, then please go for it.
So everything is our perception. So because we are told that sitting in a corner is a punishment, we accept it. So if our parents say that something is good, then we accept it. If something is bad, then we accept it. But as you grow, you develop your own personality.
Correct.
And you figure out. So solitude by itself, we pay so much money for solitude now. We take vacations, we go and sit on an island and not talk to anybody. And it is all about perspective. So it's like I said, pleasure and pain, right? Like those are very primitive, but as we evolve, our evolved brain puts context to those same things. So they solitude as a punishment is a very primitive tribal thing.
Yeah, you can change that. You can change. You can tell your limbic system, forget that.
Correct.
Shivank Mathur has said something really fascinating. I think you guys will enjoy this. Just watched AlphaGo documentary. The AI collapsed and played wrong moves after a great move by Lee Sedol. The machine evolved to play the best, but a single move by the world champ made the emotion, action, and motivation unsynced, and the whole thing collapsed. This is while we were discussing. This is while we were at the triangle. What a fascinating thing you just said, Shivank. Thank you for pointing that out. AlphaGo documentary. I'm going to try and check it out.
AlphaGo.
Thank you so much, Sidharth. Ayushi is saying. There's lots of thank yous that I haven't read, Sidharth. But generally, if we could have Sidharth OP in the chat, that would be nice.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
This series is already uploaded. You can get a lot more on Sidharth's channel that I'm spamming in the chat. Sidharth is at 1,600 followers. If we could quickly double it in the next 10 minutes, chat, that would be greatly appreciated. If you could just do that. Nice. I have just spammed this thing. If other people could also just copy the link and spam it, because there's a slight delay in the stream, that would be really nice. So how do you sync your action and motivation? Is the limbic memory only yours and also from your predecessors, Freud et al.? I'm going to focus on the first part. How do you sync your action and motivation?
It's already synced. I mean, it comes pre-synced. You just have to be aware of it. And the question is, how do you modulate it? So they're already talking to each other. But then if you are aware of it, then you can change and fine-tune what you want.
Bhargav has asked a very scientific question, if I may. दिमाग को येड़ा कैसा बनाने का to be happy? Bhargav.
Oh, very nice. Publishable stuff.
You have said break the loop in the most Mumbaiya way possible.
Hey man, I don't know why Bhargav sounds a lot like cytosine in your head.
Cytokine.
Can taking pills for depression affect memory? I guess I'm going through it because I take pills for anxiety, panic disorder. And next day I can't focus on things and I think my memory is getting weak. All is saying.
So when we are dealing with hormones, so these norepinephrine, serotonin, dopamine, they are also involved in memory. And sometimes in some people, they can have that kind of effect. So that should be something you should speak to your doctor about.
Also talk about neuroinflammatory hypothesis of depression. Is it an autoimmune disease as mentioned in the book Inflamed Mind? Desh has asked.
So that is what I basically told you, this whole thing of chronic threat, immune system, cytokine increase, insula becoming aware of the cytokines. So that is the inflammatory hypothesis. Now, it is, so autoimmune basically means your immune system attacking itself. And in a way, you can think of it like that because your cytokines are increasing and your body is suffering because of it. I'm not very sure we can call it autoimmune in the real sense of the word, in which your blood cells actually kill our own cells. So that is autoimmune in the proper sense. I'm not sure. Maybe, my knowledge is limited in this. So I don't think depression is an autoimmune disease, but inflammatory system is definitely involved in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will pharmaceutical treatment be addictive if taken for too long?
No, like that is a subjective question. It should not be, because you should be ideally combining pharmaceutical therapy with non-pharmacological therapy so that you're not completely dependent just on
Yeah, so I was on fluoxetine and doing CBT at the same time. So Pranjali has said, please share these slides. A lot of people have said, please share the slides. Guys, Sid will share them on Instagram. I'm putting Sid's Instagram on screen right now. This is Sid on Instagram. Please go follow him. I'm going to follow you.
Thanks, Tanmay.
I asked you for Instagram handle today itself.
Sure.
Please go follow Sid. Sid will post these on his Instagram. You guys can go check it out. I will let this be here for a second.
So somebody asked me about anxiety. So last Sunday I had done this whole talk on anxiety, which is on my channel in case somebody wants to see it.
Yeah, it's already there. Sid is already, this is, I'm going to split the screen up in half so you guys can see both of these, right? I'm going to quickly go back to this questions. Is there a way to find your degree of depression, anxiety, test parameters to know it? And as you said, DLPFC and H shrink, is there a way to know that? Shweta, I think we went over this in the session, the symptoms which can tell you about depression. Feel free to go through the whole stream again. You will find it in the first half of the stream. Can depression lead towards Parkinson's PP as well?
Depression can look like Parkinson's. So it has all that slowing, difficulty in moving, lack of interest. All of that can come in Parkinson as well, because Parkinson is also a dopamine problem. Right? So there is overlap, but they are different diseases. So
guys, if we're going to wrap up the stream very soon. The questions don't seem to stop, guys. I think if you guys enjoyed this, then we will do more on this. I think it's clear. Today we had 8,500 people tune in, so concurrently. As someone who just became a doctor, has neurosurgery as my prospects. Thank you so much, Doc. And thank you, Tan. Thank you anytime, no problem. How to deal with guilt, especially when you're living with the person you feel guilty about. Now we're going into like super personal, specific problems, guys. There's the solutions to your problems are not here necessarily. These are just tools that we're discussing that could perhaps help you determine your own. Bhumi is saying, does love also have similar science to it? I am almost certain that it does. And
it does.
This is a whole separate series that we will 100% get to at some point. 100%. Can a person do CBT on their own without anyone else?
You should not.
You shouldn't ideally do it. But I think the internet can teach you. And I'm sure there are books. There are some books that were recommended in the feed earlier. Cognitive Behavioral Therapy by Seth J. Gillian, PhD. This book and therapy helped me get better. Wasim Khan has said this. So perhaps you should. I'm going to just put the name of the book in chat for a second so you guys can see it by the time. Because there's a slight stream delay, I'm spamming this.
Type's so fast.
No, I just control V. That's what I did. Because there's a slight delay, right? So my chat will go before they will see it. How to deal with triggers when they come from unavoidable places and unavoidable people. Regarding the role of genes playing a role in survival tactics, there is a good book I read called The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins, I've heard of that. Is he popular? Maybe he's popular. I don't know. How does religion or any belief play here? Valent, I think religion and neuroscience is also a whole separate series.
There's a video on that as well. But
Sid, we are going to be doing this for very long. It feels like there's a lot to discuss.
Tanmay, I'm thrilled because this is how neuroscience should be discussed. It's not something that, I love the discussion.
This series is very interesting. Sid explains everything really well. Thanks for this, everyone. Cheers. Cheers, Prateem. Cheers. All right. Hang on. Does mindfulness training at a young age help avoid depression as it improves awareness of yourself and your thoughts?
It can.
It can. How to help a friend dealing with depression? Most of the times, all one can say is, you're not alone, I'm there. But that's not how it works. Kavleen has said. Kavleen, today I think we learned about how to break the loop. Perhaps what can you do to aid to break the loop? Am I right, Sid? I don't know.
Like just compare it to a heart attack. Keep comparing it to a heart attack. What would you do? That is a good rule of thumb in depression.
Yeah.
You know?
What do you do after and what do you do before?
Yeah, throughout. Yeah.
And also for your loved ones, like if someone in your family had a heart attack, you'd be like, watch what they're eating, you care about them, like exercising, you care,
Absolutely. All those things.
Viswati is saying, came out of depression in 2018 on my own. Everything you said today, I went through them without knowing all these. Now that I'm okay, feeling proud. Viswati, you should be proud. I know the feeling you're going through because I felt the same thing while watching this. I wanted to high five my brain. Anyway, there's no, what is the role of, okay, now people are just getting completely science on this. It feels like medical students have come on this stream. I'm going to ask one last question, right? What is the role of acetylcholine and GABA in this? Ashwini has
so acetylcholine is also another hormone in the brain, also very, very important, also another hormone in this loop. And GABA is what you call as a neurotransmitter. So if there is one neuron ending here and another neuron starting here, there are things called as neurotransmitters that take the message from one neuron to another. So GABA is one of the most important neurotransmitter in the brain.
There's a channel called B-Stats. He does really nice chess commentary videos. I want him to go through our stream and do a summation of it. I think that would be really nice. I'm going to ask my editors also to put up highlights. So if you guys enjoyed this today, you can enjoy it once again. Sid, thank you so much. This was very fun.
Thank you, Tanmay.
It's weird to say I had such a good time, but it was extremely informative, and I think it was extremely helpful for many people. Thank you very much for tuning. This stream will be public. It will always be public. You can check out more on Sid's YouTube channel and his Instagram that we put up today. Sid, your channel subscribers have already doubled. Chat is informing me. So goal achieved. Well done, guys. Proud of all of you.
Thank you so much.
On that note, guys, I'm going to end the stream here. Kaniz, Abhish, thank you for joining in. Abhish, you were relatively quieter today. Are you okay?
Okay. This is very interesting to like. I was like, oh, most of this was like, oh, that's what that.
Fantastic. Cool. I'm glad you guys had a good time. Thank you for joining me. We'll be back with more learning and see you guys next time. And
Bye.